And we're live. No, we're not. We're not live at all. We're moribund. We're the award-winning gutter folks. You know us. We win awards, we chat shit in the basements of dark rooms and things like that about transfers. I've got Craig Hannan, I've got Ali Gunn, I've got Melia, and Paddy's doing the video, and Andy's doing all the soundy bits, and the person who's going to look at me harshly when I get all the readout from our sponsors badly wrong, as is my wont. And our show today is brought to you not by the sponsor you're sometimes familiar with, the gutter being brought to you by, who we will not mention, because they don't pay their way, unlike the lovely people at Saley. We're going to, Amelia and I have been workshopping a jingle for Saley. They probably want us to do that, but we won't do it just now on the show. But I'm going to tell you about Saley, because that's mainly what they would like me to do. So I'm going to say Saley is a new eSIM service app from our friends at NordVPN, where you can choose from several affordable eSIM plans in over 200 countries and 8 regions. We'll do a quiz on those 200 countries and 8 regions later. see if we can get them all, just if we run out of transfers to talk about before the end of the show. If you've ever struggled to find Wi-Fi abroad, and I know you have, Amelia, or returned from holiday to a nasty mobile phone bill, you definitely have, Craig. You'll understand what a difference a local SIM card can make. An eSIM provides an internet connection wherever you travel and also saves you money on roaming fees. Ali, there is also 24/7 chat support available. You will be pleased to know. Should you have any issues and you wish to get a full refund if your eSIM isn't fully compatible. I need to breathe here. I'm not getting any younger. I've been walking here. All you need to do to get started is to download the Saley app on your phone, scroll through the plans and choose the best one for you. Then follow the instructions on the app to install the eSIM. The Saley eSIM will then be activated instantly when landing in your destination. So, Adam, download Saley in the App Store now, or by scanning the QR code on the screen. What screen? Use code TAW, that's uppercase TAW, at checkout to get 15% off our first purchase. All the details are also in the episode description box. Well, have you thought any more about that jingle, Adam? No, you haven't. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether the people from Saley would want it, but if they do, they can feel free to contact
me. They know where we are
in the episode.
And do you know what's no extra charge? I'd say
no.
Yeah, no extra charge. Say
well,
people.
Let's not rule anything out.
Oh, let's not rule anything out. Sorry, I forgot.
He's just destroyed my negotiating position there, Craig.
And we're all about leverage here at the Gutter Show, a bit like LFC. Should we talk about Florian Wirtz? Yeah, of course we shall. Ali, well, last night it went wild in Florian Wirtz speculation land, didn't it? Because our man is at the Daily Mail, Lewis Steele, tried to collar our man Florian Wirtz in the mixed zone as he's coming out after the Germany-Portugal game, a game in which he scored a goal. And Lewis says, and I'm paraphrasing, "You excited about Liverpool, Florian?" He might have mumbled it, he might have said it clearly. We've been debating this before we came on camera. Florian is seen to visibly turn his head back and to the left, like it's the Zapruder film, and that's certainly how I've treated it, giving a bit of a wink and goes, yes. I think he goes, doesn't he go, ja vol, he goes, yes. Oh, he nods. He nods and he winks. Have you not watched this, Ali? You're looking at me like I'm
I have
mad.
watched it, but I didn't hear the audio.
He doesn't say anything, that's why.
I thought he said something.
Because he doesn't say anything.
Oh, he just gives it a sly wink. He gives it a sly wink.
You've watched it so many times that you've invented a new version.
Yeah, I have, yeah. It's a bit like the Kennedy assassination, yeah. Many different things happen in my head. Yeah, anyway. So it's like the Zapruder film. I think we've concluded that. What did you read into it, Ali? Is that a nod as good as a wink?
I read into it two ways. I read into it the way that the small boy in me was like, yeah, that's it. Florian Wirtz is going to sign for Liverpool Football Club. But then the man in me sort of looked at it and thought he's probably just turned his head because someone shouted Florian. I mean, in the video, Lewis doesn't sound like he said it too loud. And obviously the mix zone it's incredibly busy as the
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and he's probably heard the name Florian get shouted out, and he's just gone to acknowledge Lewis. So I think realistically, it is just he's just being polite. But in my own head, that's Florian Wirtz confirmed, and he's going to be a Liverpool player in the summer. So yeah, I think that Florian is. He's used to this now, and this is going to continue until probably either he signs on the dotted line or we get another version of Nabil Fekir. So don't say it. He's like the Scottish play. We don't mention his name. That guy, I'm still traumatised by him. And if this doesn't come off, Adam, boy, you're going to be in trouble. Never mind me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, of all the collapsed transfer sagas, this one would take the cake. It really would, because it does feel like it's. I mean, how long has it been a matter of time? how many points of a 99%?
How can we? Here we go.
Yeah, I've been scouring social media for like hints that it might not be going as well. You know what I mean? So
I almost want those now.
So a key one is where someone from the Echo is saying Liverpool remain confident. Like that would send tremors of shock through me. I don't want any remaining confident, even though it outwardly that sounds like a good thing. I think from experience, I don't want us to remain confident. I think we remain in something else.
Liverpool are fucking certain.
Determined. We were remaining determined the other day, which I think is better than remaining confident. I don't like the remaining though.
Remaining ongoingly.
It's because I don't know. It's just because we want things to happen faster than they do. It's a big deal, isn't it? And so it can't happen at social media speed. So all we get is basically everybody retweeting each other, or the journalists quoting that another journalist has said something in German, and then it gets translated to English, and then everyone else says the same thing, and that sort of goes on
also,
for
like
24 hours.
They've just got a vacuum to fill. I think everyone has to have a new story, and then their sort of editor, and I'm just speculating here, but the editor goes, "Fuck, that Wirtz story did brilliantly for the other day. Let's do another one." And it's just the same story over and over again. We don't learn anything new from this. I think he's obviously gone on holidays, because we could see on his Instagram, and then he's gone straight to international duty. So you wonder whether that's sort of.
I think that was the real
bit of a hold up.
Yeah, that was the real life thing, wasn't it? I think I read that somewhere, that he wanted it to be sorted before he got to the Germany camp, which was on Monday. Yeah. So I guess if we were being sensible, we should have just thought, oh well, it hasn't happened, so that means it won't happen until after Germany have played their 2 games, probably.
Well, we're out now.
Oh, is that how
no
it
more
works?
Games now.
Sorry, I wasn't really.
So it should happen this afternoon.
Right. Okay. So we probably should have just been like, when it didn't happen on Monday, well, we'll have to wait for Germany to stop being in that competition for it to then go through. So I do think it's a question of when, and I think that as well as the nod, wink thing in the mixed zone, there was also the Instagram post, which was a subtweet at what's his name, Pletty Goals.
Is it he who started that rumour about him getting the
chief blagger, by the way, him. He's such a blagger.
Another Florian, actually, and we've had him for 19 minutes talking to John Gibber or Josh on this show.
Probably.
The Anfield Wrap, so let's not diss him too much.
He's part of the Bayern Temple of Doom, as I called it before, the Bayern football complex thing. So they've got their journos, and that's
just to remind listeners that Florian, I think it was Florian, said that Wirtz would be insisting on getting the number 10 shirt, which currently is occupied by Alexis McAllister. Now, Florian wasn't happy with that. Well, he implied he wasn't.
Yeah, he said don't believe everything you read, and did a clown emoji, I think is what it was.
Did he?
Wasn't it? Yeah.
I was totally
the clown was great. The clown. Also, he wears number 17 for Germany. He did do the clown emoji. Yes, that's right. Sorry, there are other numbers.
Yeah. So I mean, that for me was. I mean, you wouldn't say that if you weren't coming. There was no need to do that Instagram post.
No, I don't know. Unless you just thought he was generally being disrespectful. He's a guy who doesn't want to be seen to be disrespectful to footballers far and wide.
So yeah, that isn't him saying it's done. But I don't think if he wasn't trying to push it, and that's what we've heard, isn't it? That he wants Liverpool and he's been pushing it through. Yeah. And him and his family. I think that is another example of that. I think.
Oh, it's only good, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you say it if you're not thinking that you're going to make that move.
The only thing, Craig, is, and this is not being pessimistic. Let me start again. This is being pessimistic for its own sake. Let me be very clear. That's what this is. What I'm going to say next. But it's felt like to me there's 2 types of Liverpool transfer saga, broadly speaking. There's the ones that go very well very quickly. I think the best of all time was the Fabinho one, where it went from a rumour to a done deal, him leaning at Melwood or something within 2 hours. It was bizarre, but brilliant. Then there are others where you get the Ornstein, I understand rumour. You get the Fabrizio adding some layer, saying the same thing again an hour later, and he gets some momentum, and he gets moving along nicely, and you think it's done, and then but then it takes a week too long, or maybe 10 days too long, and then you hear Real Madrid believe they've got a genuine chance because the two Liverpool and Leverkusen are too far apart. The player is beginning to wonder if Liverpool are sincere enough. Blah, blah. What I'm getting at is, and this is semi-serious, there always seems to be a moment, if they don't happen very quickly, where there's a moment of peril where you have to go, oh no, the worst is actually happening. It doesn't mean it does, but that moment of peril does seem to creep in. And I think it creeps in for a very real reason. Us and Leverkusen apparently haven't reached terms with each other. Somewhere along the line, we've got to bullshit each other that we don't want to change our positions. Us by going, well, we haven't got any more money, and then by going, well, we're just not going to sell him at all. I mean, you don't just negotiate to go, do you want some more? Do you want a little less? Do you want some more? Do you want a little less? It's all about pose and posture. So people have to adopt positions. People have to manipulate the media. Peril.
But also, it's not like this hasn't gone on for that long. Like it's been, so what are we on now? It's been 9 days since 10 days. It's been 10 days like since that Saturday or Friday or whatever it was. Whenever journalists were coming out and saying like it looks as if, I think Ornstein tweeted saying like it looks as if he wants to go to Liverpool. There's obviously been an international break during that, and the players been on holiday. It's a massive deal. Like it's not going to get done quickly. It's also one that Liverpool have obviously not been able to sort in March and April because maybe Bayern were ahead and they've sort of snuck in ahead of them. I'm laid back about it. I think there's been too many sort of telling signs. I think the Instagram one was massive. If it wasn't happening, he just wouldn't say something like that. I think him turning around in the mix zone, like, I think he's heard Liverpool. He's also heard an English accent. He's heard someone speaking in English, and he's turned around and given them a look when he walked past everyone else. The last thing was in the Paul Joyce article the other day. Paul Joyce is like, he's the one. He doesn't say anything unless it is facts, unless there's no bullshit with him. There's no filling spaces because he doesn't have to. He just tweets when he needs to, and he writes a piece when he does. There's a piece he put out the other day where he called Salah Wirtz's new teammate. Or maybe the other way around, where he basically it was slip. A line. Yeah, it was a slip, and he's a man who's in the know. So I just think it's one of these things where we've got this like new shiny thing that we did not even think was possible, and we want to play with it, and we're being told we can't yet because it's not Christmas. Like that's what it feels like. Yeah. I just think it's one of those that'll get done over the next week, or particularly whenever the window's about to slam shut again before it reopens for this Mad Club World Cup. I just think it gets done, and we also have to remember that like there's things like the content they have to create around it. There's loads of jobs around once they've got past the negotiation. The club will then have to, because they'll want to make this a big announcement.
Timing of everything, isn't it?
Yeah. There's also a strange thing with in the like Wirtz is one of, and this is me speculating based on nothing. Wirtz is one of Adidas' key athletes, if not the key one. Yeah. Liverpool are obviously going to move to Adidas. There's obviously going to be like the announcement photos and everything like that. It's going to be in Nike until 1st of August. There'll probably be some sort of negotiations around whether that deal can be cut early. I don't know.
I can't wait till the 1st of August.
No.
See, that's the sort of peril.
But it might be something where like it's confirmed and then all of the announcement stuff is done a little bit later. I'm not entirely sure whether that's going to be true or not. I'm just speculating. That's the gutter, innit?
You've just thrown a new peril angle at me, which it's not total peril, but it's fucking annoying. that Adidas August bullshit. Anyway, let's move on from Florian for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to him. No. I think of nothing else but you, Florian.
By the way, when you get home, watch the 10 moments that Florian Wirtz shocked the world video on YouTube.
I've watched the 300 moments he shocked the world, so those 10 will definitely be within them. I've seen all
video.
his YouTubes. Have you seen his YouTube?
No, I can't watch the YouTubes, can I? The deal will collapse if I watch a YouTube compilation.
That's true. Oh, shit.
Well, prepare to be shocked, because these moments shock the entire world.
I will.
Yeah, they are genuinely shocking. They're appalling. Filth. Right, okay. I want to move on to Luis Diaz, because it broke this morning while I was recording a show with Craig and Neil, the Talking Reds thing, that Liverpool have rebuffed a bid from Barcelona for Luis Diaz. Was that what it was, Craig? I think it was. They've rebuffed it. We don't know the amount, do we? It hasn't been speculated upon. I reckon it was something like a poxy 35 or 40 million. It'd be something very insulting. Start with you on this one, Ali. It is it's fascinating the game Liverpool are playing over Luis Diaz at the moment. They've briefed before this news broke this morning that they have no interest in selling the player, but also they've got no interest in giving him another contract. Now, I was saying with Neil and Craig, one thing we sort of picked up on, a vibe we picked up about from Luis Diaz and his camp, is that he could do with getting paid more. He's been underpaid in his estimation. I think his estimation is correct for a while now. He's had a good season. He really needs to get weighed in, and very, very soon. Liverpool saying that A, they don't want to sell, but B, they're not going to give him a contract, is also like saying you're stuck on the same crappy wage, quite frankly, for the next 2 years. Unless, in brackets, is the unsaid thing. I think Liverpool saying they're relaxed or not interested in doing a new contract is a clear signal that they are pushing this player out the door.
See, I'm not so sure. With sort of the Luis Diaz and this sort of saga around the contract, I believe that the club won't be. The club are incredibly stubborn when it comes to things like this, and I think Barca have tested the waters because there is no contract negotiation. Now, what the club won't be forced into is handing out a contract because another club is interested in a player. They'll do it on the merit that he deserves, and we all agree that he deserves it. Yeah. But I think from the club's perspective, we're not quite sure the direction, because Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, now with Florian Wirtz potentially, there is a wealth of attacking options, and I don't think the club are now just going to turn around and go, because Barca are interested or Saudi are interested, we're going to give you 170 grand a week, because we're not going to be forced into a corner where we feel necessary to just act. We'll sit down and have a conversation. I did find it peculiar in the Ornstein article that the club openly have said we aren't going to offer him a new contract, and along the lines of we're happy to let him go for a free, or we're content if it leads to a free agency. I do find that a little bit odd from the club. I don't really see...
See, that's why I believe there's a double speak going on, Lee. I think what they're doing... I think they're relaxed enough that if he starts at Liverpool in August, cool, he's a good player, right? Nothing greatly lost. But they are aware that... much as they'd like him next season, quite frankly, they're not going to want him in 2 years' time. Potentially at 30. They'll have seen the best of it. You know, their metrics tend to say a winger is past his best by that age. They've seen it with Sadio. Salah's an outlier, but you see it generally with pacey-ish players. The idea of getting... He's an optimum peak of his price potential in terms of a saleable asset. You could only visualise getting, say, 80 million for Luis Diaz now. They don't want to sell him for 50 million. They might do it for 70, 75. But so the price has got to be right for them. But they know Barcelona will dick them about. Much as Lewis would like to go to Barcelona, Barca are likely to dick them about and get nowhere near their price. But they do know that there's the spectre of the Saudis who probably will pay the money. Probably got with that. He doesn't want to go to the friggin' Saudis. Well, yet anyway, because he doesn't want to foreshorten his career. So if Liverpool say to him, I think what Liverpool are saying in in brackets is, we're relaxed, we'd let you go on a free. But if you want more dough now, you better take the Saudi offer, because we certainly would. That's what I think the game that's being played is.
Yeah, I think the more you read into it, I think all parties are pretty content where they... Obviously, Diaz is not...
I think he's less content.
He's less content in terms of the money, but I think in terms of Liverpool's standing position and other clubs' standing position, like, Barca can be as interested as they want. They have no cash, or they have very, very, very limited funds. And unfortunately, we're not interested in messing around with 10 million in the first season, 10 million in the second season, appearances here. You know, the Saudi Arabia link said they'll pay £75 million probably up front or as close to it. So I don't think there's a lot of traction really with Barca unless they can turn his head and cause him to have some sort of uproar and kick off. But
we're still not giving him away.
Yeah, but I don't think that's really in Luis Diaz's personality traits either, that he's going to cause a massive scene to get out of Liverpool Football Club, especially after the last few weeks. So I think I would say that the club are content with where they're at in terms of everyone's a saleable asset. Realistically, everyone is a saleable asset, and Luis Diaz, if the right offer comes in because of the depth and the quality within the squad and the players that we are acquiring, he could be an asset that we could afford to let go of. Now, I also don't think that Luis Diaz, as we've just said then, he's not interested in going to Saudi. He maybe is a South American player and very interested in going to Barcelona, but they have no money. So I think we're just going to be in this vicious cycle really for the next 6 weeks until someone makes a move. Whether that's Diaz goes to the club and says, can I have a new contract? Maybe reduce terms what Diaz originally wanted.
Potential, yeah.
Barca come in and go, you need to go kick off and kick up a stink, otherwise you're not coming here. Or he turns around and takes the absolute shilling and goes to Saudi Arabia. But all of which I think the club are content with in any option to go, actually, if you've done your service and a viable option and a viable offer comes to us, we'll let you go. If you'd like to stay, we're more than happy to stay and you can be around the squad and no doubt you'll play 35, 40 games next season. And, you know, if you'd like to go to Barca, yeah, we're not that arsed, but, you know, only on our terms. So it would be a shame. I don't want to let him go. I think the crux of it is none of us would really like to let him go, and I think he can offer the squad a lot more next season.
If Saudi make an offer, Barca are snookered, because if they make a £75 million offer and Liverpool are interested in that, they might be able to negotiate them up. Say Barca are going 45, and it's
yeah, but the problem with Saudi is if he doesn't want Saudi.
No, I know, but Liverpool aren't going to sell him to Barca this summer for 30 million. Say hypothetically 30 million less than what they can be offered. They'll just hold on to him because they've got him under contract, and so then it's whether Luis Diaz wants to push. But like, I just think
I don't think that's an option.
I don't think that's going to happen, and I think it's more likely that he leaves next summer. I don't think they'll let the contract run down, because it run down at the same time as Salah, and then that's two big moves that you'll have to make. Having let two players go for free, I think it'll be next summer that he goes, and he probably goes to Barca. I just don't see a world in which he would go to Saudi now. But then I've been wrong about that in the past, because numerous footballers have. Different times.
Well, this is what fascinates me, Adam. Is Liverpool are playing the percentages here, right, and how they plan around this, because there's a range of scenarios. As Craig says, I think that's quite a plausible one. He does another year at Liverpool. His transfer fee falls to nearer the 30 million mark that Barca might just be able to afford by then, arguably. So that's a likelihood, but that's only one. But what's the percentages of that happening? Maybe 30%. Yeah. I think there's a chance that one of the Saudi clubs come in and offer him a king's ransom, and Liverpool as well. In which case he goes, I know this is like semi-retirement, but fuck it, I'm getting weighed in. And that's basically what I've needed to see happen for a while now. And Liverpool like the fee, but what's the chances of that happening? 25%? So, but what I'm getting at, before you come at me, Adam, is how do Liverpool think they plan around the will he, won't he aspect of this? Because if he goes, we heard he was moving tomorrow, the deal done, Al Hilal, 85 million, he's happy, it's happening. We'd expect him to be replaced and replaced well. So but we don't know. So how do Liverpool ride the two horses, do you think?
Well, this is what I was going to say, actually, Rob, because I feel like yourself and Ali have painted the scenarios perfectly there, and I do think that there are that any of them you could envisage any of the scenarios that those two horses kind of like being the one that comes true. If I was to look in the tea leaves, I'd say I think he probably is a Liverpool player at the start of next season. If only because I feel like there is, as you just sort of alluded to, there's a risk of us potentially doing too much, and I think that we know that there are areas which we are already working on improving that we would say were the priorities, and I think that you can, if you start to meddle with elements of the starting 11, you know that, and that this is a key thing, really. You know, he has started the vast majority of Liverpool's league games this season, whether you're his biggest fan or not. And you know, I've probably had to eat my words a little bit about him this season. I think he's had his best season for Liverpool, and this time last summer I was sort of saying either him or Núñez probably should be sold last summer. So I think that you can see the value that he's brought to the team, and I think that sometimes it's understated, the things about how available he is and how much of a sort of soldier he is. He's a proper team player. He would never moan. He's there, and he's like ploughing his lone furrow. He holds up an entire side. I think there's
gets
real,
you out.
Yeah.
Like no one else.
There's things that he does which are maybe unheralded, you know, occasionally by me. But I think that at the same time, So as I say, I think the risk there that maybe isn't being spoke about is us doing too much, leaving ourselves exposed and being an attacker light. I do think though that the reason Liverpool are this intensely relaxed is that at the crux of it, he is improvable. I think, despite what I've said, he started the majority of Liverpool's games.
I think that's true of both him and Gakpo, by the way.
Yes, I do.
And I think Gakpo's an interesting piece in this jigsaw.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an accident we heard noises that Bayern might be interested in Gakpo.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool might very, very subtly be letting known in channels that they wouldn't, although they don't want to sell either Diaz or Gakpo, if the right bid came in, they would listen. So I think to add to the percentage chance, I almost think they think, I said to you, there's 20% chance of this, 20% chance of that. But I think you throw Gakpo into the mix, you maybe get to a point where you go, there's 60%, 70% chance that one of those wingers goes, and that you can plan around.
Well, this was the conversation I think that we had last summer, where prior to Salah signing his contract, there was a case for selling any of our forwards.
Yeah.
So throw Darwin and Jota into that. So you've got Salah hadn't signed his contract, Jota always injured, Darwin rubbish, Gakpo sort of meat and potatoes, Diaz patchy at the time. Hadn't had this last season. So there was a case there for selling any of them, and that's kind of like still, other than Salah, still a live thing. And by the way, I'm not sure if the Gakpo thing wasn't just part of Bayern Munich's
revenge mission.
Yeah, hissy fit around Florian Wirtz.
I've seen it come again, actually, so I'm not so sure.
I don't think
they want to sell him actively.
It could, if I was a journalist, I just might make that story up there because it does make sense. There is definitely sense behind it, and so. I think Liverpool are the only risk is that we're potentially a little bit too relaxed about it, maybe because there are that many options and scenarios. I'd be nervous as Gakpo in a certain sense here, right? What, sorry?
If I was going to stay with you on this, I would be nervous if I was Gakpo in a certain sense, because although people, maybe I'm wrong about this, but a lot of people go, I like Gakpo and Diaz shared the left wing position. It's Diaz who always gets his game. Mm-hmm. I think when it came to the fact that he wanted to play a striker, broadly, the manager, as did Klopp, picked Diaz at left wing. So Gakpo gets lots of appearances, loads of minutes. But I think he would worry. Now, if you bring in Florian Wirtz and he's maybe a false nine, or you bring in a forward, as people think we were like an Ekitike, you're going, there's two possible starters here, and Luis Diaz was a notch ahead of me. I could find myself not getting my game. Let's be open-minded. If one of Europe's royalty, like Bayern, came a-knocking, or maybe his agent even said, we've got to be careful here. Liverpool are looking to go up a gear. They're looking to re-signing Salah, looking to buy Florian Wirtz, maybe looking to buy an £80 million forward, whoever he might be. Shows that Liverpool might be renovating the entire front three, and so his agent might be saying, "I'd be remiss to my client not to have a scout around."
I just think but I also think that logic dictates that he's less likely to be offloaded than Nunes and Jota, I think.
Oh yes, he's definitely at the end of that.
So it really is a pecking order, isn't it? Our attackers, there is a clear, especially under Slot, a clear pecking order. So I think there is more chance of him staying still or moving upwards, because I'm not sure. I sort of think we may end up starting next season with fewer attackers than we have this season. I think Slot
not 6.
Yeah, I don't think Slot.
Klaus Frimpong as much as anything.
Yeah, I don't think Slot wants that
and
necessarily.
I suppose.
Yeah,
and Wirtz. Well, you see, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. So yeah, I wonder. I think probably in the same way that there are scenarios afoot for Gakpo, but I think my tea leaves say he's a Liverpool player at the start of next season.
I was going to say, I think the thing that blankets all of this and the conversation we've had for the last 10 minutes is, for the first time really in a long time, and it was prevalent under the last manager as well, but we've had the conversation about we and us, and actually I think Liverpool hold all of the bargaining chips and have everything in the palm of their hand for this summer, ingoings and outgoings, and that for the first time really. I know we've had it under Klopp, and there were certain players who were invested in the whole sign under Jurgen Klopp. It's the personality sign for the club. Actually, now we hold everything. We hold all the cards.
I thought the Diaz brief was like stank of that. It was almost a bit like, that's a bit arrogant of us to be briefing that.
You always ask, like, why has this come out? Like, where does this come from? But I think there's a lot to be said for having two left forwards who are vying for the position against each other, who have had a probably over 7.3 out of 10 season, where on average both of them scored 17 goals. And I think the reason why we've seen them both have their best season at Liverpool is because they've both been vying for that position. They've been in a position where there's proper competition, where you're not entirely sure who's the best one. So I would keep them. Even the £75 million offer from Saudi, like, I'm only selling him if they've got someone else lined up. If they know, right, well, if this happens, we get this button to press and we've got it all boxed off. Still, though, Ian Graham in his book talked about the idea that their ideal of new signings every year is 2. And 50% of transfers don't work, and it's his mates that are still working at the club, and we're already going to be making sort of 4 or 5 transfers here. I just worry with going into the new season, if you're losing 3 forwards, potentially 4 if we're saying Chiesa is going, that's a lot of business to do. And yeah, bearing in mind we may end up with 5 instead of 6, but that's still sort of 2 forwards to bring in, 2 forwards to bet in if they're not coming from the Premier League. So I would hold, because there's a league title to be won here. There is. Liverpool are favourites. You've got 2 left forwards there that scored 17 on average 17 goals each last season. Both had a good season. We're going to bring in a number 9 probably. We've got this fella behind who's going to be the fulcrum, who's going to, who with all of these players ahead of him is going to cause so much damage if it comes through with Wirtz. And then you've got Salah and Frimpong to play in that position as well, which is dead exciting. So there's things to be won. All the players are talking about winning both next season, which I'm bang into. So I don't want it to go, oh well, suddenly we've ended up with 6 or 7 new transfers, which is really exciting, but also that's a lot of betting in. That is a slight transition when you've just won the Premier League.
But as
Go on. But it's good for the gutter.
Well,
and subscriptions.
It's all that. But
There's a good but.
But hang on. Ali steered us in a direction which I think is absolutely correct, because I think I put something myself on X about this the other day, that this is a sweet spot moment in our history. I mean, never mind any time in the Klopp era. You've got to, and I don't even think any time even in the 80s golden age, Liverpool are as attractive a proposition as I think we've been in our history ever. Right? I'm going to be that categorical about it. For the following, I mean, even in our 80s peak, when we were winning every single league, Man United could still attract players ahead of us then, and did, even then. Not every time, but they could. We couldn't compete with the Italian club's money, by the way. They took Souness off us and Ian Rush off us. Now, we've obviously had a lot of appeal for players during the Klopp era because of Jurgen, because of the fact we were winning stuff on and off. But just right now, there's a sweet spot in the Premier League, which has sort of been, the Premier League clubs we've competed against. We're more attractive than Man City, and Florian Wirtz has proved this, right? We're more attractive than them because they finished 3rd. They're in a state of flux in that you don't know how long Guardiola's going to be there. We're more attractive than Arsenal because they haven't won fuck all, and they were way off the pace. So that's Chelsea aren't a thing in terms of rivaling us. If we truly want a player, they're not in the race. I mean, okay, they can offer a 20-year contract at 10 billion a week or whatever, but in truth, they're not really in the races if we want a player bad enough. So we head the queue in England for the first time in our history categorically. In Europe, okay, we don't head it if it's a true head-to-head against Real Madrid, but we're seen off bloody Bayern Munich here, potentially.
But Real Madrid probably don't even have the money this summer, because they've said they have to sell Rodrigo to be able to bring in. That was the only way in which they'd be in for Wirtz.
So we've got appeal, we've got money, everything is, all the planets are aligning. So although I take the broader point, and you can bounce back on me on this one, I take the broader point about you don't want to do too much and fucking just dismantle a title-winning side. This is a sweet spot moment which might not exist necessarily in a year's time, and I think the club are cognizant of this, to attract the players you actually want rather than your first choices, rather than your 3rd or 4th choices.
100%, and I love it.
Clip that, motherfuckers.
It's true, because I feel like the club have felt the same frustration as me at having missed it last time. So you said it's never happened at any point in our history. I think we were in that sweet spot in summer 2019.
But it was COVID then as well. That's sort of pissed on our but yeah.
So not before. Quite. But I think the club do, in some ways, rightly blame COVID for them having missed the chance to be the big fish, the big boys last time. So I think this is them there's various planets have aligned. I think there's, I think that Neil's been saying for a few windows, and it maybe is being proved right now that Liverpool can start to start throwing some big punches ahead of other clubs because of PSR and because of where kind of City's limbo that they sort of find themselves in. I'm not sure whether I completely agree with you about us being categorically ahead of Chelsea and Arsenal, because I always think it doesn't matter what's happening on the pitch. Our biggest rival in the transfer market is London. Well, I was going to say Chelsea, but yeah, London. Chelsea always do still seem to be able to beat us to players, which is annoying.
Because they pay unreasonable wage. Yeah,
and London. So I also think that Chelsea are a bit of a we kind of forget about them sometimes, but there is because of the money they throw around and the way they do things, there is a chance that they could win a league in the next 3 years. Yeah. I think I suspect Chelsea might win the league before Arsenal do. I sort of I've just got that feeling in my head.
I don't disagree with you.
Obviously, a lot of things have got to change. But yeah, so I would say that your broad point is completely right, and all I can say is I'm absolutely loving it, because I've been on gutters for years now, moaning about us not paying market rate for the players we want. And here we are. We've got a backroom team that I think we were all pretty unanimous in saying we welcomed them back. We were all, it was on the back of Klopp going, so there was kind of slight mixed feelings about that. But in terms of the people we've got in, we know them. We think they're right. We think it's solid. All of a sudden, solid as well. After being not at all, it felt really airy and like a vacuum for a long time. So the fact that we've got the backroom team in, we've got a manager who was confident enough to say, give me a year and I'll look at everything, and now we are just going and backing him, and as I say, we know exactly which players we want. There's not been any secrets about Liverpool's transfer business this summer, and we are just going and basically paying the money.
I agree with all of that. I've never been as excited about a Liverpool about the club in general in terms of what I think is coming next, and
I keep waiting for something to go wrong.
Yeah, I think we're set up to. Yeah, don't say that too soon. Wirtz not done yet, but I just think we're set up to win, and I think Liverpool are going to go for it in the market, and Wirtz is obviously an indication of that. I think. But I still and everything you said there, Rob, by the way, I'm sat thinking, fucking hell, I'll piss my subscription targets. Have that, Neil. Fucking, make them higher because of all of these players coming in. And I agree with, acting from a position of strength and capitalising on where Liverpool are and where their standing is. But I also think Liverpool are going to keep winning, and I think Liverpool need to be smart, and Liverpool have always been smart. And when teams sign 7 or 8 players and 4 or 5 of them are going into the first team, it never quite works. Particularly whenever I think you've just won the league with this team. I think it needs to be like on the first game of the season. I'd love it if a new left back starting and Wirtz is starting. And maybe they're the only starters, and then the others we're bedding in. Whether the other 3's the keeper that's sitting on the bench that probably only played the cups, and they've signed a new forward, and there's a new midfielder or defender in there. That the others are sort of that's how I see Liverpool. That feels like more of a Liverpool move rather than fuck it, let's just go for the biggest 9 that we can get. Fuck it, and I mean they've done that a bit with Wirtz, so I am sort of contradicting myself here, but it's all exciting. I think the best thing about it is we trust the fellas in the back. Like time and time again, they've made the right decisions, even at times when we felt like the we should have done one more, or this player shouldn't have gone for free. They've proven time and time again that they've got a clear strategy, and they'll not waver from that. And so there is sort of real excitement both on the pitch and in terms of what we've done on there. The fact that the Premier League is just the beginning instead of the end point of all of this. We've got a manager that we trust, and then the backroom stuff as well.
So the other thing is, I guess, to go back to Wirtz, is that sometimes it feels a bit frustrating, doesn't it? The fact that we trust the backroom people. Sometimes, as Craig was saying, we know that they will stick to their guns, and I wonder whether a little bit of what we're seeing around the Wirtz thing dragging on a little bit longer than I would want is them being hard-nosed and saying that, not that they won't budge at all, but they're not going to be taken for mugs in the market. And yeah, sometimes it can feel a little bit nervy for us, but they've got the balls for it.
I think it's sometimes overplayed. Sorry, Ali. I think it's sometimes overplayed how nerveless or how resolute Liverpool are.
Well, you can't dig your heels in too much, can you?
No, the Szoboszlai deal was I think interesting. If you go back a couple of years, he had a release clause at about £70 million or euros. I can't remember which one it was. Liverpool tried for a while to get that down, that price. And actually just paid the lot in the end. They actually had to pay the release clause. And I do wonder with Wirtz if they're giving themselves another week and then they're going to go, we just fucking pay it at the end of the day. You can't risk letting it get... I mean, let's look at it. What are they? They're reportedly 20 million euros apart superficially. I mean, we don't know what the payment terms are, which is... What's that, 12, 13 million pounds, something like that. They're not going to lose this player for that amount of money. It's a bit of a dance, this.
Yeah, and I think one of the points I was going to make is, and I wonder whether the reason why we're frustrated because we're impatient is because this has come out into the press. I wonder whether the whole sort of Bayern Munich getting palmed off and City dropping out the race cause, for example, you said the Bayern layer of doom or whatever it's...
by an industrial complex.
I wonder whether they've briefed journalists or they've sort of come out because... Obviously, noise travels around fast in football, and if Bayern Munich aren't getting a Germany international who they think is going to play for Germany for the next 10 years, they're going to let you know about it because they're pissed off about it. Because Bayern get their own way, especially in Germany and especially with German players. So I wonder whether Liverpool are just negotiating at a speed where Liverpool were going to negotiate quite quietly, if not 10 days ago when it came out. I think they were just chugging along very, very nicely. Obviously, they'd done the Jeremy Frimpong deal with Leverkusen, so the relationship is there. And I do wonder whether the club have just gone, we're not going to just react and be a knee-jerk sort of decision because Ornstein's come out and written pages and pages, or Romano said, well, it's here we go soon. I think the club have gone, no, we'll continue to chat, but we're not going to be sat here going... Yeah, do you know what? Here's another 20 million.
There's two things though, because I think they'll just pay it because he's an asset that as soon as he has a good season, the Premier League he's worth more, and I think they all know that. I think Leverkusen know that as well. I think that what Leverkusen and Liverpool both know is that he wants to sign for Liverpool, and so it's not like there's a bidding war of Man City here, not in it. He doesn't want to go to Bayern, so it's just Liverpool, and Liverpool know that. I think there'll be a point where they meet in the middle, you'd expect, but if not, I'd expect Liverpool just to pay it because they believe in the player, they want the player. It's a statement for the brand, for the project, for everything around Liverpool. It's massive, but also because Liverpool have a history of signing players at a sweet spot and them being worth even more, even if they do cost the amount that they do. See Virgil van Dijk, see Alisson. Yeah, and
I think that there's an element of reputation for the club as well, though, that they just don't want to tilt too far to, okay, Liverpool are now a big club, now they're just going to drop another 30 million because they haven't met the asking price. They still want to be resolute in how their strategy is and their negotiations to go, we're not going to deviate too much from how we negotiate, but we do now have this firepower, we do now have this money behind us to go, it is there, but in the right way.
But there's a third corner to this negotiation, and that's the footballer. Now they may have inked out a contract with him. That's cool, but implicit in saying, hey, Florian giving his word, I want to play for you and only you guys. You've convinced me. I'm sold on the project. Is an implicit or explicit. He'll be saying to the club, and his father will be saying to the club, yeah, but don't dick about on the price. And of course, the club will say, hey, look, we've got to negotiate a fair price. We think your boy's worth 130 million. And I'm sure Florian and his father goes, well, we think that's fair. If you put that to the club, to Leverkusen, cool. But there will also be a subtle little, but if it's not cool, you can only haggle for 2 or 3 weeks before we have to consider our option. So the club can be as tough as they like. They have to consider the player.
Yeah, they do. And Florian Wirtz, as we've seen from the summer, is no short of suitors. And I think if we don't act, and by no stretch am I saying I don't think the club are going to drag this out for the next 2 months, but I just don't think that we're going to rip up the rule book. Now we're in a position of strength. Now we've got this financial backing behind us. I still think there is an element of we will stick to our principles, but now we're just starting to flex our muscles a little bit more in these scenarios. And we were talking about it a moment ago, and the point that I was going to raise, especially around Florian Wirtz, is Liverpool for years have had a clear strategy from boardroom to pitch to playing style. Everything has had a strategy and an end goal. But actually, what undercuts all of that as well is the club have looked round and gone, we demolished the league, so we can have this strategy and we'll keep this strategy in, but my God, let's go and do it again, because actually Arsenal don't look like they're going to close a gap really in any great rush with the players they're linked with, and they've got to do a bit of surgery. City are in a similar position, so I think the club are just trying to find this balance between now having this position of power and strength, now building the gap, but we're not going to just turn into this club that endlessly write zeros, and we're just going to rip up everything that Michael Edwards has put in place on and off for the last 10 or 12 years.
But Wirtz is a transformer. That's what he is. He's a transformer signing. That's that strategy we've seen at different times that they have to pay the money. They'll go for it.
Well, okay, this is what I want to come on to, because what keeps coming up in these conversations, Adam, is we need new players, we want new players, but you can't have the champions totally remodelled for day one of the season. And even notwithstanding the bedding in thing, which traditional Liverpool great sides have been able to do and wanted to do, I wonder how many transformatives that Liverpool see as right. And let's just skip the platitudes about bedding in. When we start the season, what does his ideal side look like? I think you can park, in a certain sense, the Frimpong signing as being disruptive in any sense, because he augments what we have in Conor Bradley, right? It's not like you've gone out and bought, Hakimi. Kerkez, he's not definitely pushed. If we get Kerkez, and there's some positive signs again today, if we get Kerkez, he doesn't necessarily start ahead of Andy Robertson first game of the season. Depends how pre-season's gone, right? Mm-hmm. They may have a view that he's going to ebb him out over it. But how many bodies do you think he slots in his fantasy world sees lining up? I mean, obviously, if we sign Wirtz, there you go, he's into our midfield or our attack. You think if they'd lump 80 million or so on a forward, there you go. So how many bodies is it into that first 11 do you see game one in an ideal world all fit?
I think the attack will be the same.
What, get Diaz, Gakpo, Salah?
Yeah,
okay.
I do. I think Wirtz will play if he's in a
midfield three.
Yeah, it might not look the same, because I do think he may be number 10. I see him central though, and I think Frimpong maybe starts and Robertson starts on the other side. Virgil and Ibu, I think probably, and so it's
only two starters.
Yeah, moving, maybe Szoboszlai's missing out for Wirtz, I think, or something like that.
But if we brought in a number 9, so we got this fantasy number 9 or this expensive high prospect number 9, I think he's the guy. If you get that number 9, obviously Wirtz, you're saying in midfield anyway. But I
just don't. Even if we get a number 9, I just don't think he'll start. I think that's really my point. I think that's my point about us not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I don't think we want to do too much, and I think you can build towards. You sign players to finish the season rather than sort of start it. I think that's what Klopp did a lot of the time, and I think it works well. And I think what you see with right back now is ideal. That's something which we'd love to have in every single position, because you've got some consistency and you've got something really exciting if you've got competition. The thing that I suppose, just to link slightly back to what we were just talking about and how we're really pleased with the backroom staff, and we like their methodical and stubborn, but not overly kind of stubborn if it comes to making a deal. I think that there's I think centre half is where we've stuck to our guns and missed out on a couple of players now. We've missed out on Colwill. Yeah, he decided to stay at Chelsea, so I don't know whether that counts as us missing out. And we missed out on Yoro, and didn't go for Plan Bs either time. And I think that probably we maybe have been a bit lucky there. I think we were sort of slightly lucky with this season. Quanta had maybe the season before last.
Lucky Konate stayed fit.
I don't know about so that was what I was going to say. The second piece of luck was Konate staying fit, which you can maybe say is something that Slot does. However, you can't say that is going to happen. So it's an area, I think, at centre half where we've rode our luck, and I don't think we can keep doing it. And so it doesn't seem to ever kind of be as a thing that we're linked. That we don't seem to be linked with many of these players. Considering, for me, it is an area where we are threadbare-ish.
Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it there, because the centre half wormhole, if we go down it.
Sorry.
Jesus. It's a really important one. And we haven't even given Kerkez his space and time, and it's another sort of show.
Did an eyes emoji there? He's tweeted an eyes emoji.
I know, he's done an eyes emoji, I know.
I was just thinking about Kerkez and Szoboszlai returning to Budapest for the Champions League final next May.
Oh, an emotional return to the Champions League final for Kerkez and Szoboszlai. Yeah. Wouldn't that be a thing, with loads of shiny new lads?
It'll be great.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Craig, and thanks, Patrick and Andy. And, we're going to do loads more of this shit again soon.